What would it be like if your world sounded like this?
Buenos días, vengo a ver al doctor.
老早，我想問我睇你好唔好嘅？
Lo siento, no entiendo.
請問你有事先預約時間嗎？
No entiendo.
有想問我睇你好唔好？
Or like this? For patients who speak foreign languages or who are hearing impaired, this might be how the world sounds. There are over 6,000 languages in the world, and more than 170 are spoken in the United States, including American Sign Language. Offering interpreting and translation services to our patients is just as important as scheduling an appointment, because if they are unable to communicate their needs, they may not receive the appropriate medical care. Patients have the right to request interpreting services at no cost to them every time they visit the doctor or when they call to make an appointment or just simply to ask a question. At Ultimate, we offer interpreting services over the phone and in person, including American Sign Language.
So you mentioned that the condom broke about a month ago while you were having sex with your partner. Is that correct?
You meant that the condom broke a month ago, and that correct? Yeah, it's broke, and I'm worried. I need to get a pregnant and HIV test.
Oftentimes, a patient will bring a family member or a friend to interpret. While it is acceptable, there can be negative implications of having a non-professional instead of a professional interpreter, both for reasons of confidentiality and medical terminology they may not be familiar with. And children should never be considered an alternative under any circumstances. Beyond the fact that no-cost interpreting and translation services are mandated by state law, clear and accurate communication is essential to providing our patients with the highest level of care. Interpreter services will be provided to the patients through the patient's insurance plans or through our vendors. When a new patient comes to our clinics, we need to properly document the patient's request for an interpreter or the refusal to use this service. It all begins when we ask,
¿En qué idioma prefiere usted hablar?
¿Español?
After you ask the patient's language preference, make sure you enter that information in the electronic health records. If the patient prefers to receive medical care in a language other than English, also ask.
¿Va a necesitar un intérprete para todas sus citas?
Sí, por favor.
The request or refusal of an interpreter needs to be documented in the electronic health records. This will ensure that the person scheduling the appointment will also request the assistance of the appropriate interpreter at the time of the appointment. Please refer to this chart for specific instructions on where to call to request interpreting services. Always keep this chart on how to access language services in a place of easy access. If a face-to-face or in-person interpreter will not be needed, then you can call and request an over-the-phone interpreter, which can be accessed within just a couple of minutes by calling the health plan or our contracted vendor directly. It will all depend on the type of patient. The chart on how to access language services is again the best place to look for the proper information. For example, if you're calling our contracted vendor, you will simply need to dial the appropriate number and follow the instructions. Deaf patients may require an interpreter for American Sign Language, also known as ASL. ASL interpreters must be scheduled ahead of time, so please take this into consideration when scheduling an appointment. However, if one is needed the same day, please follow the instructions on the walk-in checklist and notify the patient that there may be a long wait before the interpreter can get to the clinic. Being deaf or having a hearing loss does not mean the person knows sign language. For deaf, speech, or hearing impaired patients, simply follow the instructions on the walk-in checklist. Wearing a hearing aid doesn't mean the person is deaf. Most deaf people do not wear a hearing aid. If a patient has a slight hearing problem, make sure to use a personal amplifier device that is available in every Ultimate facility. Ask your front office supervisor or clinic administrator where to locate it at your specific site. Another language service provided at Ultimate is the translation of documents. Various documents, including letters, flyers, and claims, are translated into the patient's language so they can better understand the information regarding their medical care and learn about our different services and programs. A patient may also bring a medical record or letter from their previous doctor in their native language. These can also be translated into English to assist you in caring for this patient. It is very important for a patient to understand the information related to their medical care. So if you're sending a patient a letter in English, Make sure you include this insert to let him know that if he doesn't understand the content, we can have it translated into his language. We can also have it put into Braille for those patients who are blind, or in a larger font for the legally blind. These services are also free of charge for all patients. Information on how to request the translation is also located in the chart How to Access Language Services. It's a fact. Culturally sensitive care helps create a more positive experience for patients and providers alike, and better outcomes for everyone. For any questions regarding access to language services, please contact Altamed's Cultural Linguistics Department. When we can all communicate clearly, everyone wins.